Welcome to what will be the conclusion of a very busy day of racing action here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Absolutely fantastic to be with you here as we are getting set with qualifying for the Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli, and also includes part of the GT World Challenge America powered by AWS. You see the cars up on the jack stands in pit lane as we are getting ready for the pole shootout. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish. Ryan Marine, of course, with us as well. And you're looking down at the car that set the fastest time of the three segments in the earlier qualifying session. But it is Max Root behind the wheel. He was not the guy who got that time, but nonetheless, he'll be heading out on track. And Cal, once they go green, this is basically, it's a 15-minute literal shootout. One driver gets out there, goes after it, best times, but within that 15 minutes, there's oftentimes a lot of strategy at play.
There is, because you can come in and change tires during this session. If you do that, all of the times to that point are deleted. So the one factor with that is it's been pretty cool here today. It's warmed up a little bit this afternoon. It's an ambient temp of 61 degrees, so you don't have a lot of time to play with. I think if you're going to do that, just get a read on the car, maybe a final adjustment. You got 2 laps maybe to go out, then get the stickers on. It's going to take them probably 3 laps to come in, even with the tire blankets and tire warmers. So not a lot of time to play around with, and there's going to be a busy session, I feel.
And obviously, I would think even if you go out on a used set of tires, you need to get a lap in just fairly quickly in case something happens, an incident, a red flag. You always have to bank that one, but it is going to be fun to see how this plays out. In the earlier qualifying session, well, we've actually had a few qualifying sessions today. Earlier today, we had pre-qualifying. Then we had the 3-segment qualifying, where each of the 3 drivers goes out in the car for 15 minutes. Their fastest time from that segment added to all of the times of the 3 drivers, and then they come up with the average, and that's what establishes the pre-grid, if you will. Then the top 10 cars make their way into this pole shootout qualifying. The rest of the field lines up as they did at the end of that 3-segment qualifying. Here is a look at the Audi Sport Team Hardpoint by WRT Audi that is into this pole shootout qualifying, but there's also a lingering grid penalty that they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was an incident on the track during the qualifying segments with Spencer Pumpelly, who was the second driver up. He got into it with the number 2 GT4 car from GMG Racing, Rob Nadell, behind the wheel. And he was found to be guilty of avoidable contact, essentially, and they're going to suffer a 5 drop in grid position for the start of the race here tomorrow. So the key is now get as far up towards the front
exactly.
So you're not starting right back in the middle of the pack.
Absolutely. So that's going to be settled here in fairly short order. One of the things, Cal, a lot of these drivers coming from the 24 Hours of the Ring or other tracks globally, well, this is a little bit of a different racetrack here, about as flat as it gets, but it's providing some great challenges and proving to be very racy.
It is. I think with the curbs around here, it does allow you to go side by side for a number of the corners. You look at the course there, just shy of 2.5 miles, 14 turns, 3 very distinct sectors. You start the run across the yard of bricks there, down through the green sector 1. Big braking zone into that tight right-hander, very technical through that first sector. Then it opens up once again down Holman Boulevard to start sector 2. Again, technical there through the second part of that. Then it starts to flow a little bit through that final sector and open up again. So lots to work on there. You need good straightaway speed, but you've got to have the downforce in the braking zones because they're so important for overtaking. As we saw this morning, BMW seem to be very strong in all categories.
Yeah, we've got a great new graphics and data that we'll be showing you hopefully throughout the session, and it was giving us some very interesting reads on exactly that. And you're looking at a lot of the cars, tires weren't on as they came out, but one of the things they do have is, Calvin alluded to, is they are allowed tire warmers. And so they keep them in the ovens until the very last minute, then run them out. They can't be pit side with those ovens. It's got to be back in their paddock or in a garage if they're in a garage. So they have to wait and then run them out and get them on the car. So they do lose a little bit of temp, but it's still better than going out in relatively cool conditions on really cold tires.
Yeah, it's a big factor here, and you can see the final pressure adjustment being made by the mechanics there. Valkenhurst, 2-car effort here, bringing all of their cars over there. Don't have a ton of help from BMW North America this weekend like years past, but they do have one of the BMW engineers helping them out. But essentially all of the cars were shipped from Europe for that operation. But we do have Connor DeFilippi, who's going to be aboard one of the cars, and he was very rapid in the earlier qualifying session, obviously part of their North American RLL operation.
All right, here we go. 15 minutes, pole shootout time And everybody on the track at the same time, just one driver nominated for each of the cars. In the #1 Squadra Corsa Ferrari, it'll be Alessandro Balzan, who's filling in for Rodrigo Baptista. In the #6 Vital Speed Ferrari, it will be Jeff Westphal. In the #7 K-Pax Racing Bentley, it'll be Jules Gounon. In the #20 Wright Motorsports Porsche, it'll be Max Root. The '30 Team Honda Racing Acura NSX, it'll be Mario Farnbacher, pole sitter overall last year, nailing it in the pole shootout in Monterey last year. In that '31 Audi, Mirko Bortolatti, who is an awfully rapid driver. He can get the job done. In the '34 Balkenhorst Motorsport BMW, Connor De Filippi, as you said, in the '35 entry from that team, Nicholas Ialoli. The '63 DXDT Racing Mercedes, Ryan Dial. And the '93 Racer's Edge Motorsport Acura will field Trent Hinman. And Trent was very quick in pre-qualifying the first session on the track today.
Yeah, he was. In fact, he has the fastest lap of the day so far in that pre-qualifying session at a 1:22.736. Then in the qualifying session itself, as you mentioned, it was the '20 Wright Motorsports Porsche with Jan Halen behind the wheel at a 1:22.915. But on the averages, it was the BMW number 35 squad, excuse me, number 34, who had the best averages of all three drivers that really set this top 10 for the pole shootout.
As you watch Jeff Westphal here, it's amazing to me. Both of those Valkenhorst BMWs, they wanted out on clear track together right now and just jumped the number 93 to get out there, and obviously opportunity to play the drafting game down these long straights, I would think, to some degree. And if you've got a teammate who's willing to work with you on that, that can certainly add some time.
It certainly can. You can probably pick up a tenth and a tenth and a half down that front straightaway. The key with GT3 cars is maintaining the downforce on those front dive planes and on the front splitter, so that can be a factor here in the compromise between getting a draft and then losing downforce through some of the corners.
Westphal immediately starting to pick up some serious speed here. Wants to get these tires up and get in a lap relatively early, as we said. You see behind him Balzan in the #1 Hublot Ferrari.
See that brake zone there for turn 7. A little bit bumpy right there. It really creates a little bit of an issue under braking. Got to be careful. We saw Renger van der Zande hang the right side wheels in the grass there and just maintain control of the car this morning. You can see these curves through a lot of the infield section. You can really ride them to great effect. That opens up some of the corners, gives it great flow.
And a couple of those curves that are sort of freestanding, it goes up and it rolls down a little bit on the backside. If you can hook a tire on that backside just a little bit, I would think that will help just sort of pivot you around the corner.
Yeah, the problem areas are right there, turn 12 and turn 1. If you get inside there, if you're really pinched in terms of racing incident, and you go over those, that really takes you for a big ride. But a lot of you just kind of ride up on them. The stewards are basically saying in terms of track limits, as long as some part of that Pirelli P0 is touching the blue and white curbing, you are good to go.
And Balzan in that #1 Ferrari, fastest time so far, the 1:24.154. And this is what we were talking about. We saw both of these BMWs, Cal, in their outlap. They just went right around as fast as they could. Anybody, they wanted to get a feel for things. Let's see if they head in and immediately throw on a different set of tires as we watch Super Mario Farnbacher.
Yeah, and the key there is that basically the car's going to park firme situation unless you're willing to delete all of your times and throw new tires at it. So they may have made a setup change since the qualifying session, just want to feel it out, make sure it's the right direction. Probably put a fresh set of skins on, some new Pirelli P0s, reset the times and go for it. Still 10 minutes on the board for the Valkenhorst BMWs to get back out there and lay down a time.
Yeah, they were both they ran 152s, just getting the feel of things here. And you can see Farnbacher still trying to get some temp and clean those tires off as we take a look at the #7 K-Pax Racing Bentley in the hands of Jules Gounon. And of course he, along with his two co-drivers, are leading in the points in the drivers category right now after a big win at Bathurst with M-Sport.
Yes, they did have that big win, and they're actually the only trio of drivers here competing this weekend who scored points in Bathurst. So very important for that squad to find an entry here in the K-Pax. The best domestically based American squad, of course, have delivered them a car and all of the operations to make it happen.
The K-Pax has been running in Europe as well in the races for the GT World Challenge Europe. So they've certainly got pretty familiar situation here in knowing what these drivers are like and the like here. Gounon, in fact, has gotten to the top now at a 1:23.774. And I'm really intrigued to try and find out if those BMWs did change tires. You would suspect they did. They're both back out on track right now as we watch Gouillot. 10th under, the best time in that first sector, Cal.
You can see that the purple sectors are flying right now. He's on a good lap as he now tries to finish it off. We anticipate them being right in the mix. They are concerned with rain though for tomorrow. The Bentley has really not performed well in wet conditions, and we're anticipating rain, particularly during the first 2 or 3 hours of this race.
Let's see what kind of time he puts up here. 1:23.77. That's what he had. He lowers it by about a tenth, a 1:23.676. And the Bentley, even the original Evo or version of the Bentley, was known for being really easy on tires, which is a good thing in long endurance races. But when you need the temps to come up in a hurry or in wet conditions, it's just tough to get energy, as you say, into the tire, and thus heat and thus pressures.
One thing I'm very surprised at is the lack of pace. Gounon's fast time right now, 1:23.6. That's about 3/4 of a second off the fastest time in pre-qualifying, nearly a second off what Hinman set earlier in the day. But since qualifying, we've had a IndyCar race, which has laid down Firestone rubber, so maybe that's having an effect in terms of the grip level, the compatibility with these Pirelli P0s.
Oh, we've definitely seen that in the past, where you get events where there are multiple different series running different tires in terms of compound and the like, and some of them, you know, get along fairly well, and some of them really don't work too well. Let's see what Farnbacher does here. He's got a 1:24.1. He's back a little bit. Jumps to second at a 1:23.821. But as you said, still well off where we expected to see some of these drivers running. Balzan now third, leading in the Pro-Am category for pole, if you will.
Yeah, really surprised. I anticipated, having seen high 22s, and some of the teams were using worn tires to do that, that with fresh Pirelli P0s, we may have been looking at maybe dipping it in the high 21s, but right now it may be a question of we can even get in the 22 bracket.
Well, watching Yaloli here, he's got a couple of personal bests, which he basically did an out lap and then came right back in a slow lap. So not surprised to see that, but you can see well off of that fast time. But I would suspect maybe this lap now, this is going to be the one that they're really banking on here, because they've got to get something in. Right now, they're right at the back, both of those BMWs.
Well, this is really his first lap that counted. That first time, 152, was with a pit-in situation. You understand that the BMWs are on fresh tires. It'll probably take them about 3 laps to really get into the sweet spot of the tire and performance levels. Plenty of time.
Bortolatti now jumps up into 5th in the 31. Ooh, big lock up there by Westphal.
Just keeps it together.
Yeah, into that turn 7 you were talking about, how bumpy that braking zone is. And I think part of it is with the downforce on these cars, we're seeing them go a lot longer into that brake zone and a lot farther to the right up and over those curbs and the like, because they have such downforce, they just change direction so well. Other cars that have raced here early in the weekend are turning in a lot sooner than these guys are. So they're playing on a little bit more of a slippery slope here.
Westphal just doing a quick reset here. He knew that he completely blew sector 2 there, so having another go at it.
Balzan working through. Try
third.
Yeah. Pick something up. Yaloli now jumps up into 4th, Cal, at a 1:24 flat.
Balzan a little bit slower on that lap. He needed 3/10 to get to the top position, but he's actually 3/10 slower on that lap than his personal best. This is the man who's had the fastest lap of the day. Hits pit lane. Company sitting in the 6th position at a 1:24.248.
Yeah, interesting to, I don't think there's a lot of time to be able to put tires on, but they've got tires on the wall, so maybe they're going to give it a go. And they are. Looks like stickers coming off of that wall. Connor DeFilippi, the young American who started in the open wheel ranks, and then made the step into sports cars, and is now absolutely one of the top GT drivers globally, I think.
He's driven for Porsche and for Audi in Europe, and then he got the opportunity with BMW. And he's been a great fit, and I tell you what, he has been absolutely up on the wheel this year. He's got a lot of confidence right now, and I think this morning's session didn't harm that in any way to be the quickest of his teammates. And Essentially gave them the average best position during qualifying.
See what he does here. How about second? A 1:23.771 for Connor De Filippi for the 34 team, Valkenhorst team. Here's Bortolotti again. Has slipped outside of that top 5. He needs to put one in here. Needs to be at least 5th to stay in the top 10 when they factor in that grid penalty.
See the green there on the board, that means personal best. The yellow means they're just below their personal best, so a little bit slower. Purple means overall best sector. If you're unfamiliar with this qualifying situation, Bortolotti, big move in the offseason, leaving Lamborghini and moving over to the Audi factory squad.
Didn't get it done on that lap, still sits in 6th. Just about a 10th off of Alessandro Balzan. Here is Ryan Dial. And a big change in the GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS Championship Series here, Cal, about mid-season, when this number 63 car, they'd been running an Evo kit on their pre-existing chassis and got a new car built from the ground up as the Evo, and they said they just like it a lot better, and they've really had to start to put together some results in the North American Championship.
Yeah, and Ryan's had success here, one back in 2013 in Grand Am competition. That lap that he just put down puts him 7th. De Filippi to the top, 123.318. He's 3/10ths clear right now, and he's early in this sticker run as well. Only 2 laps on the board. Kind of got into the curbs a little bit there. I think he's worried about that car. Look at Farnbacher dancing on the brake pedal.
Wow, that car just twitching wildly, but he held on to it. And couldn't catch what that car was that De Filippi had to take evasive on. Look at that, Mario just throwing this Acura NSX GT3 around.
Sat on the pole at last year's California 8-hour event, so going for 2 in a row here on American soil. He is pushing deep, and he's basically overdriving a little bit now, Greg. It's not going to be efficient in terms of lap time. He's got to reset here. This is the key corner. This turn 13 really sets up the lap.
Feeding it beautifully here, but that second sector time tells you the story. He was off by 7/10ths, and that's where it wasn't exactly pretty through that section of the track. And these cars, they offer up a tremendous amount of grip and performance, but you get them over that edge just a little bit, as you with any car, and it's just going to actually slow him down. So we'll see what we can, what he can come up with here.
He's got 2 more laps he can potentially get in here. I think he just needs to tidy it up a little bit. I think he's got more time on the board. He currently sits in the 3rd position at a 123.8. He's half a second off the pole. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to find that, but may be able to leave ahead of Gunon, who currently sits in that 2nd position.
If he can move up a row here, that's could be pretty crucial, obviously. Now the 93, you got the report, Hinman, we saw the car duck in, and apparently they did put those stickers on.
They're leaving it late, though. It's going to be tough for him to get tire temperature and get a lap put together, and Farnbacher's often in the dirt here.
That was a huge save, because just about the time the car settled from him saving it from the off, he had to start to fold it into turn 11. Somehow made that work, but... And he's saying, yeah, we're done.
Yeah. He'll know the grip level is just not there, as he's asking for more. It's not giving it to him.
Well, here is the man of the moment here, because he's got this lap for Trent to try and make something happen. And as you said, I don't know exactly how much grip these tires are going to be.
If you're going to use that strategy, Greg, sorry to interrupt there, but you got to do like the Valkenhorst team did. Do it early, get in, and at least give your driver a chance to get into a rhythm on sticker tires. This will be a bionic effort if he can put together a lap here so quickly.
I mean, he's certainly capable of the speed. I don't think there's a question of that. It's just whether there's enough grip in terms of heat and such in those tires here. Hard on the brakes, folds it in.
Showing personal best, but that's because his times have been deleted, so this is really his first flying lap that counts. That's why he's seeing green sectors.
Keeping it very tidy for the most part, though.
It looks good.
Yeah. Now, will he be able to pull the miracle out? Down through 12. Here we go. 13.
I don't see it.
You don't want to run it too wide here. Yeah, he's off there in that second. But again, that's just relative to personal. So here we go. He currently sits, obviously, with no time right at the back. Does he jump up to 5th?
It's a nice run. That's an impressive performance to be that late in the session and have to dial it in.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah, he's only a 10th off of Farnbacher, as you know, and we saw was driving very hard to achieve his lap time. So I think potentially there's a bit more. I think Hinman with another lap could have easily got up on the front row.
I think so too, based on what we've seen so far today. But as it turns out, nice moment for Connor DeFilippi here on home soil and at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, no less, put that 34 Vulcanhorse BMW up onto the pole in the pole shootout here. Gouillon sits in the 2nd spot, the number 7 Bentley. And Farnbacher will be inside of the 2nd row, again, provisionally. And that number 30 Honda race team by Yaz Motorsports Acura. Then Yaloli in the team Vulcanhorse BMW. Then Hinman with that, I think that was just a massive effort inside of row 3. And then the Pro-Am pole sitter alongside Alessandro Balzan and the number 1 Hublot Squadra Corsa Ferrari. Nice run for him.
I think probably the biggest surprise is the pace of the Audi here this week in the number 31 squad, run by Hardpoint Racing alongside WRT. Bortolotti down in 7th, and then he's got to suffer that 5-grid place drop as well from there.
And then in 8th, it is Ryan Dial, the number 63 DXDT Mercedes-AMG GT3. Then lone runner in the silver category, 9th overall, Max Root, and the number 20 Wright Motorsports Porsche. That is, we know, is very quick as well. And then rounding up the top 10, number 6, Jeff Westphal for the Vital Speed Motorsports team in that bright yellow Ferrari 488 GT3. So good blend at the top. You got the BMW, Bentley, then you've got the Acura, then it's BMW and Acura again, but pretty strong run. And what really this all leads into is that, this will set that starting lineup, but it's an 8-hour race, and as you said, weather could really be the determining factor in this one.
That's the big curveball overnight. We expect some rain overnight and maybe lingering on into the start of the race. It looks clear in the afternoon, but certainly that's going to be a big factor for Bentley. They're very concerned about the pace of their car in wet conditions. But for the BMW, it's known to be a little bit aggressive on the tires in terms of degradation, but that typically means it's able to retain the energy in the tire in the sketchy conditions, so they could have it covered here tomorrow. We saw with some of those AWS graphics earlier in the day, they had the fastest trap speeds, they were fastest through turn 5, they were good on the brakes. Doesn't seem to be any weak spot in this chassis here at Indianapolis.
No, it truly doesn't. I think another group that might be a little concerned about if it is wet is Ferrari, because that 488, it's a superb package in the dry. But we've seen evidence here in North American racing where that car in the wet suffers that same issue, just not really generating any grip in the tires.
That's true. We had that a couple of years ago up at CTMP, north of the border. We had a very rainy day, and both the Bentley and the Ferrari of Tony Vilander were struggling.
Now, of course, they're running this year on a new version of the Pirelli P0, and haven't really had any experience with much wet weather racing during the course of the season here for sure. So interesting to see how this new tire, now I don't know that the wet tire was necessarily changed, but getting the cars turned around to get them back into the garages. And I think I saw that number 34 Vulcanhurst BMW making its way into a sort of a victory circle area where they'll do the presentation for the pole shootout here. Interesting format for how qualifying proceeds throughout the course of a day here in the Intercontinental GT Challenge. But on the upside, you got 3 different opportunities for all the fans during the course of a day to see these cars come out in anger and going after it. And a guy who really was going after it, Ryan, down with you right now.
Yeah, no question. Connor DeFilippi was laying it all out there. How wild was your run? How much did you have to dig deep to extract the speed you needed for pole?
Thank you. Team did a great job. We did a little bit different strategy than the rest, and I think it paid off, getting at least 1 lap under our belt on the older tires to kind of get the flow of things, get out the jitters, and put the new tires on and go for it. It was cold conditions again, not like this afternoon. We ran after the IndyCar guys. We haven't really experienced that yet, so honestly, the way my lap was pretty messy. The car didn't feel as good as it was earlier in the day, so I wasn't expecting to. I didn't know where I would line up, but I just go by the pole and I see we're on top. So obviously, we had a good package compared to the rest.
With the IndyCar rubber down, that made a big difference, I take it, in how the track felt to you?
Yeah, we seemed to lose overall grip. It wasn't really a balance shift. It was just overall grip, both front and rear axles. So trying not to overdrive the car, but it's quality super pole you want to push. So in the end, it worked out. Super thankful for BMW. Vulcan Horse Motorsport did a superb job this weekend, and we'll try to do it again tomorrow.
Well, single lap pace is one thing. We got 8 hours of racing coming up tomorrow. How good is this piece looking ahead at an endurance run on Sunday?
I think we're in the mix. I think, we might not be the best car on long run pace, but it's really hard to tell. A lot of people did a lot more new tire runs yesterday than we did, as well as today. So I think it's really hard to gauge. I think we're in the mix. We're better off than we thought we'd be. We'll make a few more changes overnight to try to find some drivability and be ready for 8 hours of fun tomorrow.
Well, congrats on an outstanding lap. Enjoy it tonight, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a run. Connor DeFilippi doing his team, doing the U.S. proud here at Indy. And really, I mean, there isn't a point for pole. It's an endurance race, so starting up front, all of this is nice. A lot of this is these drivers, this is their one shot to just say it's mano a mano, let's get after it here, who's the best. And tell you, Connor DeFilippi did a nice job.
He performed when it counted, and he said it felt like a messy lap, but it was not as messy as some of the others, obviously with the fastest time.
Yeah, taking a look here at some of the moments of this pole shootout session. Bit of a moment there for Jeff Westphal. For Mario Fahnbacher, he was really hustling it, and he had that car dancing everywhere. Here, Jules Gounon just rolling some serious speed up and onto the long front straight here. Actually, that's up into turn number 11, cutting down and trying to get the run going. Key corner here. You don't want to exit too far out. Give yourself a little room to swing over. But then, after an early stop, switching to sticker tires, Connor DeFilippi just uncorked one.
He laid it down, a brilliant lap, and congratulations to Connor. Great to see the American boy make it happen on U.S. soil.
Yeah, absolutely. See that little correction mid-corner, just feeding it throttle. And some of the great super slow-mo shots here that give you just a real feel for what's going on inside that car. You see all of those corrections. And a great job by Connor. He sits on pole. 8 hours coming at you tomorrow, folks.